Quick shout out to the two Uber comrades on Patreon supporting my channel and this content. My partner, Thank you, Rosa, and Independent Left News. Definitely having a bit of a wonky hair day here, but that's okay. Came across this interesting article on Common Dreams. I'll get the author, but we'll look at it in a second, about how actually the United States had a secret torture black site, whatever you want to call it, in the country of Poland. I know, the US had this in multiple countries. I did not know that Poland was one of them, but it still seems like the US government is being very reluctant to admit that. But the former Polish president had admitted that, and said that, yes, we did have that. I knew it was going on. But the US now, or I should say now, Poland investigators are looking into this, particularly about Abu Zubaydah's torture there. But the US, of course, is, stonewalling, not trying to give any type of information about this. Just really, really fucking disgusting. And I made a video earlier today. I'm not sure if this video, I'll put it out today or tomorrow, about how the United States is attempting to sanction Cambodia now for supposedly, violating human rights, when, again, the United States is the biggest purveyor of death and destruction and misery all around the world, and they have the fucking gall to, try to sanction Cambodia for violating human rights and being undemocratic. Zubaydah has been a prisoner. Abu Zubaydah has been a prisoner at Guantanamo Bay for 15 years without getting charged with anything. But the United States is somehow a bastion of democracy and human rights. Give me a fucking break. He's asking the Supreme Court to allow his lawyers to depose the two men who oversaw his torture, which were actually fucking psychologists who designed the enhanced interrogation program that was the United States used on its quote unquote war on terror. I mean, you're completely going against, any type of professional code of ethics if you're in the, helping, social work, mental health, psychologist profession. So those people should have been stripped of their, licenses as soon as word came out that they were helping the US design fucking enhanced interrogation, i.e. fucking torture program, right? One of the longest held prisoners in the US global war on terror is finally getting into court. Sort of. The prisoner Abu Zubaydah, who has never been charged with a crime, again, held at Guantanamo Bay 15 years. He's never been charged with a crime. He's been waiting 14 years for a federal judge to rule on his habeas corpus petition that challenges the legality of his detention. I mean, again, we just have case after case of the US just doing just these horrible things to so many people all around the world. This guy has been languishing in prison for fucking 15 years without charge. And obviously he's not the only one. The United States, leave Guantanamo Bay aside, has the world's largest fucking prison population. Zubaydah's request that he be permitted to take testimony from the two CIA contractors who oversaw his torture. We'll get in their background a little bit. As I was alluding to, the Trump admin intervened to block public disclosure about how Zubaydah was treated, i.e. tortured while in U.S. custody, or even where he was held, and the Biden admin is continuing the fight. Of course they are. Supreme Court briefs. The admin has cited an array of arguments against allowing the two men to be deposed, citing everything from State Department privilege, which shields highly sensitive government information from being revealed in civil litigation, to the plot of the Oscar-winning thriller Argo. Oh my God. Zubaydah's case has reached the Supreme Court circuitously, say that 5 times fast, beginning with an investigation in Poland 5 years ago into whether any of its government officials were complicit in Zubaydah's detention and torture. The U.S. has refused to cooperate with the Polish prosecutors, as I mentioned in the beginning, citing national. It has nothing to do with national security concerns. It has everything to do with hiding the torture in this completely illegal, unethical, disgusting torture regime that they ran in that country, as well as, many others. Polish investigators ask for help from Zubaydah's lawyer, who in turn sought to take the deposition. Here we go. The psychologists James Mitchell and Bruce Jensen paid more than $80 million. So looks like their, ethics and morals, if they, had any to, let's say the APA, the American Psychological Association, went out the door when they, cashed that fat check. They were the principal architects of the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques, aka torture program, agency's euphemism for waterboarding prisoners, slamming them against walls, forcing them into a coffin-sized box, depriving them of sleep for days at a time, and other forms of torture. Again, that's why, it rings very hollow anytime the U.S. empire, the U.S. government, U.S. politicians, U.S. citizens try to, call out other countries for their violations of, human rights or democracy. Look at this fucking shit as just one example of, basically infinite number. Zubaydah was the first prisoner on whom Mitchell and Jensen tested their techniques, according to a Senate Intelligence Committee report released in 2014. After the CIA seized Zubaydah in Pakistan in March 2002 and secretly took him to a black site in Thailand, Bush admin officials asserted that he was Al-Qaeda's third highest-ranking member, even though there's no evidence at all to support that. Government has since acknowledged he was not a senior terrorist leader and that he had no known connection to the 9/11 attacks. He had been in and out of Afghanistan and Pakistan for nearly a decade and a half and had suffered a serious head injury while fighting against the Soviet-backed government. Intelligence officials concluded he was more of a facilitator, providing false passports, housing, other arrangements for men, some potential terrorists who moved between the two countries. Zubaydah was waterboarded 83 times. Again, what that is, it's simulated drowning. They would put a cloth over somebody's face and pour water on it as they were strapped down. You would feel like you're drowning. It's a form of torture. It's fucking disgusting. Cables from Thailand to Langley reported later. Later interrogators would conclude he knew nothing about Al-Qaeda's plans. He did, however, send FBI agents on futile investigations. He tried to end the torture. Again, like you're being fucking tortured. You're gonna say or do anything that you think the people who are torturing you want to hear, so the torture would end. Makes a lot of fucking sense, right? December 2002, when journalists began asking questions about a black site in Thailand, it was shut down and Zubaydah was secretly transferred to Poland. For years, the Polish government denied the existence of a CIA detention site, but after the 2014 Senate intelligence report and after the European Court for Human Rights ruled in 2015, quote, that it was, quote, beyond a reasonable doubt that Zubaydah had been held in Poland, Polish prosecutors began their investigation, invoking a mutually legal assistance treaty, which commits each country to support the other's criminal investigations. Warsaw, Poland asked Washington for assistance. The request went unanswered. Joseph Margulies, one of Zubaydah's American lawyers, realized that the Polish investigation offered an opportunity to make public at least some of what had been done to his client at the black sites and might lead to his release, invoking a federal law that allows an interested party to gather evidence in support of a foreign investigation. He asked the court to compel the depositions of Mitchell and Jensen. Again, those two psychologists, if you could call them that, who developed the torture program that the U.S. used in the War on Terror. They got $80 million for, again, selling out what little, professional ethics or just, human ethics or morals that they had. They cashed a fat check and he had hugely disastrous consequences. Zubaydah, again, he was waterboarded 83 fucking times. Trump admin immediately intervened, asserted the state secret's privilege to block the depositions, contending that testimony would formally confirm or deny that the CIA operated a clandestine detention center in Poland. As the Bureau of Investigative Journalism, a nonprofit organ in London, put in a brief recently filed with the Supreme Court in support of Zubaydah, study after study, report after report emerging from the CIA, DOJ, SSCI, along with the flight record after flight record, flight invoice after invoice, have confirmed in graphic and granular detail what the world already knows, that CIA had black sites in Thailand, Poland, Romania, Lithuania, Afghanistan, Guantanamo Bay, where Zubaydah is still being held. Even the former Polish president, Alexander Kwaśniewski, has acknowledged that the CIA had set up for fuck's sake, like, the evidence is clear. The CIA had this torture program set up in Poland as well. Of course, everything took place with my knowledge, he told Poland's leading newspaper, Gazeta Wyborcza. Apologize if I'm mispronouncing these. In 2012, the president and the prime minister agreed to the intelligence cooperation with the Americans because this was what was required by national interest. None of this has slowed the U.S. government's efforts to avoid acknowledging what is now accepted fact. In the brief, the government's lawyers argue that the Polish site, if it ever existed, remains a state secret because the federal government is never. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Fucking disgusting. So again, like, it's how so many examples of the US being just the biggest purveyor of death, destruction, misery, sadness. In this case, also torture in the world. And this included Poland and the US not wanting, the world to doesn't want to acknowledge it because it doesn't want to, shed any more light on all these fucked up things that it's done and continues to do in the name of the U.S. empire and protecting and trying to expand its interests. So wish I could say this is surprising, but nothing surprises me about all of the, fucked up things the United States has done and continues to do. Like the video if you like the damn video. Subscribe for more content. All part of the people. Peace.